Hey everybody, Tom Caps from Flock Free Bird Control here doing our Rule the Roost podcast, episode number 16. Victoria's my special guest again. I guess you're not going to be, you're actually turned into like a co-host, special guest.
Yeah, I'm not special anymore.
Oh, you're special. All right, bird joke. I have to remember one. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I just had one in my head and I forgot it. What could it be? What could it be?
Is this the joke?
No, I'm actually thinking I just had one. I drew a blank because I was making fun of you. I'll think of it. When it pops in my head, we'll talk about it. So, all right, let's talk about, today we're going to talk about a specific subject. It's going to be seagulls. We'll talk about seagulls. And whether it's residential seagull control or for commercial bird control. Again, people do all kinds of crazy stuff with seagulls. And seagulls are tough because there's two different things you have to deal with. Sometimes birds are just loafing, looking for food, that kind of thing. And sometimes they're building nests. Mm-hmm. When they build nests, it's a whole different thing. So one of the things we'll talk about, rooftop seagull problems. So recently, I don't know, about the last 5 or 6 years or so, we collaborated with a gentleman from Seagull Bird Control.
I think that's his name.
Yeah, really smart guy, a lot of fun to work with. And we started doing rooftop treatments and things. So there's two types of birds that are building nests and birds that are loafing. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we actually put poles around a building and we run string, mylar string. And it's funny because you would think it's easy, right? Hang string up there, keep the birds from landing, but there's actually way more involved than you think. So I've seen now that we started doing it, I've actually had to do initial installs and had to do some repairs. Okay. And you see what works and what doesn't work. So we use aluminum poles. Our poles, we like to have them 8 feet high. And then we use a special Kevlar string. And our string is painted blue. It's blue string. And I'll tell you what happened was I went to visit a condo development. And they had done the string. And the seagulls were still tearing up their pool. It was an outdoor eating area with pools and stuff. The birds were just pooping on everything. And what they do is they pick up clams and things. And this was near Wildwood, New Jersey, down the shore, New Jersey shore. And birds would pick up clams, whatever they pick, and they drop them. And then they go down and eat whatever they drop when it breaks open. So these guys had done it themselves. They had put some poles up. There was buildings or trees around this pool area. Mm-hmm. And they put up a fishing line. And what happened was, they thought that they would create a grid over the pool and we keep the birds. So the basic idea was okay. Create a grid and you can't see the fishing line, so it's going to look okay. Mm-hmm. But what happened was they made the grid too small. So these were loafing birds. So when you have loafing birds, you need you can put 30-foot squares up there. They don't have to be very big. Okay. People think you have to make a tight grid, but when you think about how fast birds are flying and gliding, if you have a 30 by 30 or 25 by 25 foot hole, and that's a pretty tight window when you're flying really fast. So what they did was they made these little 8 by 8 grids, and they're tight. And their fishing line. So what was happening was birds were getting caught in the fishing line. They were running into the fishing line because they couldn't see it. Okay. And they were getting tagged. They had these dead seagulls hanging from the fishing line. And they're pretty heavy birds. They were bending the poles they used because they used the right size poles. And it was more trouble than it was worth. So the idea is that when you have birds that are just loafing or flying around, we make 30-foot grids, 30-foot by 30-foot squares. So that eliminates how many lines you have to run. But if you think of a huge building, it's still a lot of poles. Yeah. We could use 50, 60 poles sometimes. We have those 30 by 30 foot. And the thing with the blue is that when I look, if I'm underneath that structure, if I'm underneath the grid that I create, whether it be around a pool or on the top of it, I look up, I don't see the blue because I see the sky. Okay. So for me, it disappears. It's great. Yeah. But when you go up high and look down on the blue grid, it's clear as day because there's cement, there's blacktop. Yeah. That blue stands out so the birds can clearly see the blue. They never come near it. So loafing grids are way bigger than nesting grids. If you have a nesting grid, you have to have 4 by 4. Okay. So 4 by 4, that's a lot of wires going up there. Yeah. So I had
a lot of math.
A lot of math, yeah. So I actually went to do a repair job. It was a self-storage facility in New York, and the winter was coming, and the seagulls were coming back. People were panicking. So they sent me some rough pictures of it. So I went up there with a couple fellas to try to fix it. And I get up there, and it's a multi-level roof. So there's a high spot and a low spot. They use these big, heavy-duty metal poles that are like 2-inch wide, cemented into place on the corners, and they use stainless steel wire that was wrapped around and bolted in place. It was like, oh my God. But they all fell down.
Okay.
Everything was laying. So when I got up on the roof, I'm ducking. I'm going to have to crawl in certain spots. It was like 2 football fields worth of roof, and everything was laying on its side because it just got beat up over the course of the years.
Okay.
And it was a nightmare. We were up there. I fixed it in 2 days. We fixed it in 2 days. I was exhausted, but we fixed it in 2 days. And it was the same thing. There were loafing birds, not nesting birds. So we were able to get rid of some of the grid, the steel cable, replaced it with some of the string. And it ended up working out really good. But people make some basic mistakes, So yeah, and even when we do a grid, we'll do something on the coping too. So what's really important to know is sometimes people will put a grid up on a roof, but then on the perimeter of the building, they'll run the string sideways to keep the birds from going underneath the grid.
Okay.
It happens occasionally. The idea is if you're 8 foot high and a bird gets underneath the grid, it's going to feel so uncomfortable that they're going to keep going and fly out. It's only a real problem if they're nesting and they've been there for 3 or 4 years. So when you have a nesting situation on a roof, you have to do more than just a grid sometimes because they've been there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And Mother Nature, the nesting seagulls love white rocks. Anything with a white rock on it, they love it for some reason. I think it's because the nest holds really good.
Okay.
But in certain parts of the country, you can't put a grid on the side of the building, on the side of your grid, because if there's a fire, the firemen have to be able to get up. And you can't impede their access to the roof.
Okay.
So if you do a grid on a roof, you have to make sure that you follow the local rules about how high the poles have to be, if you can even do it, that type of thing. But the most important thing to remember is that a loafing grid, 30 by 30, nesting, 4 by 4. The poles need to be made out of aluminum. You have to have springs on the line so the lines can move a little bit, don't break, because that wind will move left and right. And if you get hired to do a grid, call us, consult us. We've got the right poles, we've got the right grid. We can guide you how to secure these poles the right way, how to make it look good. And then there also is a maintenance that has to be done. If you put a grid up and you have a harsh winter, like in Rochester, New York or someplace, you've got to go take a look at it once a year, every spring. What happens is people don't call you until there's birds on the roof and there's nesting. Once you have nesting on the roof, you have to get a federal permit. It's a problem. So if you put a grid up on a roof, which is not the hardest thing to do, it just takes a little bit of time, but check it once a year. You have to build that into the contract, because the last thing you want to do is have things fall down, get broke, and have nesting up there already, and it becomes a nightmare. So it's an easy thing to do. It's good for residential things too. We had a home on the Jersey Shore, beautiful home on a bay, and the seagulls love the water because it's fresh water.
Okay.
So they're looking for fresh water. So these people have this beautiful pool, a tanning deck, and they have seagulls build this $2 million house on the Jersey Shore, and seagulls are, swimming in their pool and crapping on their cement, So what we did there was a pretty simple. We actually put some eye hooks in the house. They're like those things that you screw into the wood. They have rings on them. And we hooked the string to that, and it came out and put some poles in select areas.
Okay.
Not to overdo it.
Yeah.
We made it wasn't 30 by 30. It was a little bit more than that because they're already dropping in the water. And we did it I think we did it in 6-7 hours. And the birds stayed away. And then once a year, we have to come back and replace a string every once in a while because it gets really windy. But that simple little job for a house easily is a $10,000, $20,000 job.
Wow.
It's not that hard to do.
Yeah.
It's just you have to talk to somebody who's done it before. So we've done it before. And one of the reasons we hooked up with Seagull Control Group is because Barry's his name. He's a good friend of ours. He's done hundreds of them. So before we had stayed away from it a little bit because we were more warehouse, garden center, restaurant type of thing. And then we got a couple calls. Then we reached out to Barry, and we've been working with him now. And there's nothing wrong with that. So one of the other most important things is if you're any kind of business, the more you don't know, there's nothing wrong with collaborating with people. A lot of the stuff that I do as a bird control guy, some of the ideas like the UV paint and the ozone, it wasn't an idea that I came with out of the blue on my own. It's just seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Learning from other people. The minute you think you know it all, you're doomed. So if you guys ever have a seagull problem, before you go out try to whack it yourself, give us a call. we'll help you out. That's what Flock Free does. We solve problems. We try to do it, as efficiently as we can. So, as promised, I think I remembered my bird joke.
Okay.
At least gotta have a joke. Okay, so you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want you to try to answer this if you can.
I always try, believe it or not.
Okay, why do hummingbirds hum?
Is that the joke?
No,
Oh,
that was a Jeopardy reference.
I thought you were humming, and that's why hummingbirds.
Why do hummingbirds hum?
I thought that was the joke.
And you said you weren't special. You ready?
Yeah,
Because they don't remember the words.
that was funny.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Until next time, have a great day. Visit flockfree.com.
I thought that was the joke.
No, why do hummingbirds hum? Because I forgot the words.
Yeah. Funny. That was good.
All right.